Welcome to Washington Football Week with your host, one half of that dynamic duo, Sean Spencer, and South Carolina's finest, Will Craven.
Don't play us if you're undefeated.
Where we celebrate past success while looking to a bright future. There's a youth movement in Washington, and they're ready to take the reins. Led by fire.
Play aggressive, D.
It's a new day. New dawn. No longer the laughing stock. It's time to take command.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And it's Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Hump Day! And no, this is not the Olympics. No, this is not a presidential election or debate or anything like that. No, we are talking football, and we're talking Washington football, so you know I'm not alone. I got to be with my guy, the flyest guy from South Carolina, Will Kramer. What up, Will?
Sean, man, how we doing tonight?
Oh, yeah, we are all good. Training camp has started. It's all starting to come to fruition. I feel good, man. Oh, I like that shirt. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. But you talked all about what's going on right now. Well, the politics, we'll let that stay where it is. But the Olympics, been watching a good amount of that. What about you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, Kat is big into the gymnastics. She follows Simone Biles religiously. So, obviously, we've been watching a lot of that. Honestly, I've been kind of watching all the new sports that are in here. And Will, there's a sport, I don't know if you've watched, called, I think, handball?
Right.
Or something?
Don't you remember that from gym class?
Well, right. But, I mean, we can play this. These guys don't look like they're that much more shape than we are, man. Like, I felt like I could be on these teams, man. This
right.
is
How did it become an Olympic sport? When there's like, what league is this?
Right.
Like I said, we used to play that in gym class with Miss Bonnie.
Oh God. Yo, when I saw that, I was like, okay. But you know, there's a lot of other things. You know, I was getting into the archery, obviously the BMX, a lot of that, the off-brand stuff that kind of has made it into the Olympics outside of the major swimming, track, you know, gymnastics, etc.
Okay, you're doing better than me. I watch a lot of the swimming. We've actually gotten big into swimming in our house, and since the boys are usually sleeping while it's on, we watch on YouTube the highlights. So Patrick's all about watching, Katie Ledecky right now.
Yeah.
He likes to watch the 1,500 meter, like that's 30 times back and forth. So
Right.
It's like a 15-minute clip. We're like, all right, there you go.
There you go.
Time to have breakfast.
Right. That's perfect, though, right?
It is. It works out well.
Oh man, so yeah, definitely, it's great, and we know you're all watching it. But like we said, we're not talking that right now. We're talking Washington football. It's Washington Football Weekly, or as of right now, Washington Offseason Update, ladies and gentlemen. We've been with you kind of sporadically throughout this offseason, but we've gone with how the news has gone. There ain't been much going on, but we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Training camp is here. The players are here. And look, we all know everybody's been hearing all the great things. Jaden Daniels is this, and look at him. He's precision. He's great and everything. And you know what, Will, I'm going to send it to you, but one of the things that I've been really looking forward to coming into this season, what has been my moniker for the last couple of years, our defense is bend but don't break. And I told you last year, I'm tired of that. I want us to have an aggressive defense, a dominant defense. And when we got Dan Quinn, Joe Witt Jr. now taking over as DC, I kind of felt like, okay, we're going in the right direction. And, I was listening to certain reports of things. Deron Payne was saying, he lets us go eat. He lets us go out here and ball. It's not just play scheme. It's we're going to be aggressive. And Will, talk to me, because we know what we're going to hear from the offense. But let's talk about the training camp and these guys get back. But how hungry this defense might be.
Dude, that is what is, I think, the most exciting part of this new coaching turnover and the scheme, the coaches we've got. You know, you've got an experienced defensive coach that's now your head coach in Dan Quinn. You've got a very well-respected, well-traveled coach that's now the defensive coordinator in Joe Witt Jr., who's been around places. You've got a former DC, former linebacking stud, Ken Norton Jr., as the linebackers coach.
Yes.
You brought in guys from San Francisco to coach the defensive line. Look what their linemen, but like, there's so much talent. You've got Donatel's his last name. I can't remember what the first name is. He's the son of the former defensive architect, you know. So there's bloodline, there's lineage, there's just a huge coaching tree that's come here to DC that it's really exciting to see some of our pieces. You know, if you think about it, for the last 4 years, all we've talked about is our defensive line. And well, we don't need to blitz because we just go man up and we can get them. And that's kind of been the mindset of like, well, you guys just go do what you need to do. You know, you guys put pressure and we'll work on other things. And it's a much more cohesive unit we're talking about here. They're already running stunts. You know, we've been talking about for a while. Can we mix it up a little bit? Can you move these guys around? Is it simply just Chase Young off the edge every single time going wide? Can you move him? You know, could you move a player like him around? And so I think the exciting part is going to be who is, you know, what do they do with this roster? Not just the new players, but even some of the old players. And what do they see? And where do they put them in a position to be successful?
Oh yeah. And I know I've heard Dan Quinn in interviews talk about Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne is, you know, these guys are hungry. You know, they've been around. They've been through the tough years, and these guys really want to come out here and prove something. And I love that because now it's a rejuvenation for these guys. It's almost a rebirth where you have these these new coaches coming in and trying to kind of revitalizing this defense and actually kind of bring it, like you said, to what everybody said we were. You know, when we had the Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen and Chase Young and Montez Sweat, now maybe we can actually be that. And you know what I love is that, like I told you last week, we're not hearing a lot of stuff. We're not hearing the Eric Bieniemy, the Ron Rivera, the Dan Snyder. We're not hearing any noise. No. We're just hearing, hey, Jaden Daniels looks really good. Mm-hmm. These guys are all excited to be here. Dan Quinn and Adam Peters and all these guys are, hey, you know, we like the moves we're making, and I love that. Let's see. Hey, only thing I want to hear that's coming out, let's talk football. Let's bring out football, and that's why I'm really excited about training camp.
Absolutely, and they've talked about that. It's a much more professionally run camp. One of the things they said is there's two parts that are different this year than in many years past. When they get in, they all watch film. And then they go out to the field immediately to put what they just watched on film into practice. Right. So the players are kind of talking about, we just learned this stuff and we're implementing it, as opposed to kind of doing the reverse. And so they've found that to be very, very effective. The other part is it's just a high energy. Remember in mini camps and some of the rookie ball that they had going on where they had that drill where everyone was running through and the coaches are patting the players. And, you know, it's a higher sense of energy out there. So it's not just this lethargic walk through training camp, dog days of summer. It's we're going to get after it for an hour and 10 minutes and we're going to make this a productive time. And then we're going to go back inside. So give it your all. And everyone's kind of buying into it. It's like you said, it's a totally different vibe, which is it's so refreshing.
Yes. Perfect word. Refreshing. It just feels good to hear. And then did I hear this correctly? That they're either it's shorter practices or they're less practices than there were last year. I think there was like 20 last year. It's only gonna be 17 this year.
Both. I think you said both. What you've heard is both. There are shorter practice sessions at times. Like I said, they're trying to be a little bit more efficient. Like if you all go hard for 70 minutes, we're out of here. Yeah. You know, and they're going at 9 a.m. when it's the coolest it can be. So, you know, they're not out there at 2:00 in the afternoon. But because of the the 2 joint practices, you lose a day to travel to those locations, going up to the Jets, going down to the Dolphins. And so there are a few less days, which also means there's a few less days for fans to be out there.
Yeah.
But you would take those trade-offs if you're, the joint practices. I think that's the wave of the future for what training camp and preseason is going to be, when the league goes to an 18-game schedule. And so I think that's only going to be better. I've heard the reporters talk about how the defense looked fine last year. Forbes looked fine last year going against, his own guys. And then they went up and practiced against Baltimore, and the reporters were like, uh-oh, this ain't good.
Yeah.
And there's they could see in August, there's something problematic about this scheme. And we saw how poorly it went.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And look, this, at the end of the day, I think it kind of goes along with kind of the message and the theme of the team, the new regime. Let's work smarter, not harder. You know what I mean? Less practices, all that stuff. Obviously, bringing a number of analytic guys and kind of leaning towards the analytics of the game. And I like this. I like this because, all right, we've had a lot of issues. Injury has been one of them. Coming out of camp, healthy and on top of our game has been an issue. I like this. I like that we have the excitement. I like all these things. Now, to the actual training camp, outside of the highlights and all this stuff, what are some things that maybe, the fans should be excited about?
Sure. Well, already this week, so we're about 1 week in. Camp started, I guess it was Wednesday with some light stuff, but they finally put the pads on Monday. And so that changed the kind of vibe of things. Players got a little bit more juiced up. Just it became a lot closer, to the real deal. Before it was, as Doc Walker calls it, the underwear Olympics were happening out there. But so that kind of changed some things. But one of the storylines that a lot of people have their eyes on, we talked about last week, is the offensive line and what's going on there. And I think if you go into the season, the thought process is Cornelius Lucas is at left tackle, Wiley's at right tackle, Nick Allegretti, the guy they brought in, is the left guard, Cosme is the right guard, Biotish is the center. Well, there's been a lot of talk about Brandon Coleman, that 3rd-round pick, really kind of coming in and holding his own against the players, especially when they put the pads on. One of the things, it's really hard to evaluate offensive linemen when you're not actually hitting guys. Mm-hmm. And when they put the stuff on, they've been talking about how quick his feet are. So they're like, he's got, good movement, but he got a chance to go up against Dorrance Armstrong, against Dante Fowler. And Fowler got him with some speed stuff, but when he got a chance to kind of get into him, he made some good blocks. And so they've been penciling him as the starting left tackle. They've been penciling him as a starting right tackle. They've been rotating him in with the starter. So this guy is getting in there early. It's not even August, but you got a 3rd-round pick on a position that everyone talked about being a weak spot, and they are rotating this guy in. It starts to make me feel like that Morgan Moses vibes from years ago, and then all of a sudden this guy came in week 1, and he was our starter for 5 years.
Right. So, with this, and obviously the emergence of Coleman, Wiley's kind of been left out, and we actually went into the first official not the official starter list or whatever, but they had Wiley not in that tackle position we all thought he would be. Mm-hmm. Is this writing on the wall? Is this some way out, or is this now just put him in a depth piece and he's a veteran, that type of thing?
Yeah. So they did say that on Sunday he sat out practice with some tightness. Mm. It might have been in anticipation of the fact that they were putting pads on Monday. But I think this is also the time of year you want to put Brandon Coleman in and give him a shot. You'd rather him start here than up against the Jets and that defensive line. Yes. And then he gets exposed and you go, oh, okay, well, we're not ready here. You do want to be working him in a little bit. So I think it's a little early to be looking at that. Was he starting over Wiley? But, these guys are evaluating everything. So, I think about the only guy, in my opinion, who has everything solidified is free agent signing Tyler Biotish at center, because we brought you in here to anchor it, and right next to him, Sam Cosme. I think those other positions, if someone emerges, they're not going to say, well, we did sign this guy, so, you know what I mean? They're going to play the best players.
Oh, yeah, Absolutely, absolutely. So look, yeah, and for the most part, again, this is just beginning. We'll get into it as it comes, as the weeks go. But if you watched us last week, if you can hear us last week, we talked offense. We're not going to get into offense this week. We're going to talk defense, and we're going to break down the roster and look at who potentially could still be here, who's going to stay, who are going to be some of the guys that are going to be the starters, and kind of go through lists and maybe even ask who are some of these guys that are on the list. Will, let's look into it now. Let's start. I mean, with our D-line, the part of our defense that over the last 4 years, we've been told by everybody and their mom is supposed to be the heart and soul of our defense. The two in the middle, Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, have showed out. They've done what they can. Obviously, we know what happened to Montez Sweat now with the Bears, and Chase Young. Where's he at? The Saints now? Then he was San Francisco. Saints, and they paid him. So it's a new look. Obviously, we know that with the coaches and everything like this. But let's start with that D-line. Who do we have? Who is in-house right now? And where do we go from here?
Okay, I'm gonna split this up because it's training camp and we've got like 15 guys to name. Which I think if I name all 15, we're gonna forget the first 3.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just do our outside guys, the edges. So you've got the household names. The free agent Dorrance Armstrong from Dallas, Cleveland Farrell that came from San Francisco, the Dante Fowler who came from Dallas. Those are your 3 staples of guys who are going to be there. You've got your holdover from last year, KJ Henry, the 5th round draft pick. Andre Jones, the 7th round draft pick. You've got Efe Obada, who I think is still on the injured list. I don't know if he's practicing right now. And you've got 7th round pick Javonte Jean-Baptiste. All right. Now there's a couple other guys in there, Jalen Harris, and then a free agent guy they brought in. I actually thought this guy was a linebacker, so I'm not quite sure if they have this right, but they named Anthony Pittman. I actually think he's a linebacker. So I think PFF has might be wrong on this one, but that's those are the outside guys. So kind of hearing those, who are some names that stick out to you? Is there anybody there you're like, I'm watching this guy, I want to see what he does with this coaching staff?
So I think it's very interesting. I mean, obviously for the last couple of years, you have the KJ Henrys, Jean-Baptiste, some of these guys that we have seen, and when they have made a couple plays, we've been like, oh, look at them. Look, they're doing better than who we got, but not expecting them to do a lot. I think what is so key about this year, and we've already seen the impact of Dan Quinn, is you having the guys like the Cleveland Farrell coming in here and Dante Fowler Jr. and some of these veterans coming in here. And as we'll talk about through all the defensive line, I'm excited to see what these veterans do in this offense. We've heard from, I'll talk about Frankie Lavu at linebacker. We've heard from him, like other teams were offering him more money, but it was playing in this scheme. It was playing for Dan Quinn. It was playing in this defense. And so bringing these pieces together in this, I'm very excited to see that. So for 2 reasons. Number one, these guys are veterans. They've not maybe been top names, but they've been names that you've been hearing year in and year out. I don't know how many. We can go back through each offseason where I've said Dante Fowler Jr., why not get him on a 1-year little thing? And we have, eventually got him because of these circumstances. So I love that. But now we've always talked about how we are young. We need veteran leadership. These guys are vets. They've been around the system. They're all coming because they believe in the system. Who is better to teach the young guys? This is how you do it, and this is how it works in this system. Let's run. So I'm super excited for that. But for me, it's the vets. I want to see these guys come in because our defense is now automatically, we're older. You know what I mean? And it's not flashy. It's not this, we're going to get the sack record and all this nonsense. It's we're coming here. We're coming to work. So, yeah, let me see them vets. Let me see the Farrells and Dante Fowler Juniors and Dorrance Armstrong from Dallas. You know what I mean? Let's see those guys and see if how much they can contribute. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think you brought up a great point. There's not a lot of competition at defensive end. You just said we brought in veterans who are going to be the guys that get a lot of the playing time. Obviously, the 2 guys from last year, KJ Henry and Andre Jones. We're going to kind of see where do they fit in. And then the 7th round pick, John Baptiste. I normally would say, like, I don't care about this guy, but I don't know if you saw the leak on Hard Knocks. The Giants had their like draft board up and they had color coded some guys. And John Baptiste was someone that they color coded. So maybe there's something there with this guy that, we just thought, 7th round pick, whatever. Maybe other teams saw something in him as well. But you're right. There's not a whole lot of competition here. So I certainly think seeing the veterans and what they do is going to be intriguing. I mean, Dorrance Armstrong was one of my favorite signings of the entire offseason. So I'm excited to see him.
Oh yeah, he was definitely one of those guys that when we're playing Dallas, we're like, who is this guy that's sacking our quarterbback? Like, what?
Right.
Come on, man! Like, who
again? Yeah.
Yeah. So
one thing that they didn't put on here that we're going to get into his position a little bit, but Jamin Davis has been working primarily only as a pass rusher this training camp, not as a linebacker. So he's not. He could be someone in this mix here if he makes the team. We'll get into that.
Great segue. Let's go into linebackers because I think that is going to be key. Obviously, we'll talk about the Frankie Lavu. We'll talk about I was going to say it again. I was going to say Mike Wagner, Bobby Wagner. I don't know why that Steelers guy's in my head every time. Bobby Wagner. But you see those pieces. But we've always been wondering, okay, Jamin Davis, this first pick that we got from Kentucky all those years ago, he has never panned out. Yep. And before we talk about Jamin Davis, I got excited because we were talking about Jamin Davis. Let's then bring in, because you did talk D ends, but we did not hit D tackles. Let's go there first. Thank you for my guy. Appreciate it. Yeah,
it's my fault because I'm the one who split them up. So I threw you off there. But yeah, I didn't want to skip over the D tackles before we get through them. But this is going to be a fun group. Honestly, this is the group I'm really intrigued to see because I think there's a lot of competition here. You've got Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen. You already mentioned they're being told go attack, go after the quarterback. We've got John Ridgeway, who don't forget Dan Quinn drafted John Ridgeway. And he was not happy that they lost him. So he's now got Ridgeway back in his camp. Fedarian Mathis, who in 2 seasons, Sean, has 8 tackles.
Right.
Even in 1 season, that stats are pathetic. But in 2 seasons, he was hurt for 1, but so he has not performed. You've got 2nd round pick Johnny Newton, who's back, and he's about to be cleared fully. So he's kind of working his way in there.
I didn't see that, by the way. I didn't see those injury issues coming out. Maybe that's why we were able to snag him. But that's another. Right.
Could have been. We've got this guy out of Virginia Tech who they say has the quickest release off the ball, Norrell Pollard. Okay. So kind of he's a pass rush interior guy. We got my guy Benning Potato.
Oh yeah.
And then the last name. Haggai Debussy. I don't know how to pronounce. He may be one of those you're allowed to bring in someone from Europe and they don't count against your roster. So seeing all that, I think the biggest competition is going to be for spots 3 and 4. And you look at Ridgeway, you look at Mathis, and are they going to keep both of those guys? Are they kind of the same player? I mean, it's kind of hard, Phil is the biggest guy. I'm sorry, it's not between 3 and 4 because Johnny Newton's number 3 to be rotated. So it's really the fourth guy. Do you keep 4 interior defensive? Do you keep 5? I think they're going to keep 4. So you're kind of looking at Ridgeway versus Mathis for the final spot. Where Ridgeway he made plays his first year with us. He didn't really do much last year. He kind of got pushed around, and Mathis hasn't done anything in his time here. So, but he's got a new scheme. He is the biggest guy out there at 300 and let me see, where is he at here? 312. Actually, Payne's a little bit bigger. So I think Mathis lost some weight, but he is a bigger kind of space eater guy. So you kind of wonder, is that what they're looking for? And then I'm really curious this guy from Virginia Tech to kind of see if his pass rush and can he show some explosiveness out there.
Oh, yeah. And I'm interested to see how many people they do keep outside of the top 3. Obviously, Allen, Payne, and then Jerjon Newton. Like you said, Big Phil has underperformed. I mean, obviously, best ability is availability. He hasn't been able to be on the field those 2 years, but I'm looking for a big year out of him. But look, Ridgeway, to your point, hasn't done much, but I do remember that Atlanta game where he chased down, Desmond Ridder, which I don't know if that's saying much, but still, right. When we were comparing it to the lack of effort of Chase Young, it was big. So yeah. I'm interested to see how many of these guys they keep. And I'm going to tell you, when going over, obviously this is the list of players without cuts and everything like that, but I'm interested to see how they stock this position on that D line, because one of the things we've talked about is being able to move those guys around. But another thing that's been so great for Dan Quinn over the years is the ability to substitute and have fresh bodies continue to come. How many times did we see Dallas bodies keep coming in? This guy's pass rushing, all right, he goes out. Now they have other guys that are coming in that might not be as good, but in that scheme they work well. So I'm very interested to see if you do start to keep rotating some of these guys, so you can prolong the life of a Daron Payne or a Jonathan Allen, who Jonathan Allen has already told us, he's been here for X amount of years. He's dealt with this. So we're no guaranteeing on how long he's going to be able to stay. So let's prolong the life of some of these guys, our investments that we have. And I'm eager to see if they keep maybe a couple extra guys. Like you're talking about this guy from Virginia Tech. Let's see if we can keep somebody and let these guys earn a spot and make a name. One of the things that we know about, especially we'll talk about corners with Joe Witt Jr. And his Dan Quinn and his defense, is they make names out of guys that you have not heard of. Yeah, and that's something that I'm very excited to see, especially on this D line, which is something we've both and everybody has talked about has been the main position on our team. So. Right. No, you said it perfectly when talking about guys rotating. When, this offseason, Joe Witt was asked, like, all right, so who do you think are your starters? And he goes, starters. I got 18 players. That's who we have, and like you said, his mindset is not, I don't need 11 guys. I need 15 to 18 guys that are going to be rotating through, keeping everyone fresh and making impact plays. So you're right. It's a great point. Absolutely. And it's also a great help if you're having trouble on defense in NCAA 25. Put in the sub players hit it out because it helps out the great team. Jeez. How many seasons you in? 10 seasons in already, Sean? Yes, I am. All right. My coach has had some years. All right. Congrats to Marshall on this success that they've had. That's right. Bringing them back, baby. Right. But all right. So let's go into linebackers. And again, another reason why I did kind of put in the Jamin Davis thing to start in linebackers, because like you said, he has been primarily being a pass rusher and being put into that role. And talk to me, Will, because I'm very excited about that, because one of the things that I remember from way back from when Gibbs said, he said, if you only have one job, you might not have any. You know what I mean? He wanted guys to specialize in having multiple different positions. Brian Mitchell, running back, special teams, and quarterback. Special quarterback. You know what I meant. I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say. You're talking about being a kick returner or emergency quarterback? Emergency quarterback. Okay. Yeah. Emergency. All right. But yeah, so that is something that I really like, because we know what Jamin Davis is. We tried to put him at linebacker. We tried to make him the Mike. That's not in. When we put him out there and let him go off his instincts, he was solid. He was great, but still he struggled. So now I want to see, maybe we do bring him down and into the box. Maybe we have a little 5-man line where he's coming off the edge, a la LT type, or even not even LT, but Kerrigan type, Ryan Kerrigan. Right. He's coming off the edge. Bring down your comparisons here. Yeah, I'm waiting for the meteoric rise, all right? Right. But talk to me about him, because before this, off season, we had him. He was one of the guys on the chopping block. Yeah, no, I think there are two guys that everyone has their eyes on, and one of them is Jamin Davis. And what is it going to happen with this coaching staff? The other one we'll get to in the next position group. Right now, he is
only working with Ryan Kerrigan, who's the pass rush specialist coach. Now, it's kind of interesting. So I think what that shows, though, is, as you alluded to, his job is very much in jeopardy. There's some excitement. I know I shared this saying, hey, with this new coaching staff, what are they going to do with him? Where do they see his strengths are? Well, Jamin was very raw coming out of college. He hadn't played a whole lot.
Yeah.
The honest evaluation is he was given a disservice coming to Washington and being asked to play a middle linebacker, where that was not the position that he could come and thrive in and have success as a rookie. Right. And he's been misused. So I think that's important to say. But this coaching staff doesn't have to care that he got misused. They're looking for players who can do things. Now they're trying to figure out where if can you do anything. And I was listening to, I think it's called the Command Center podcast, Logan, Santana, Fred. And Logan flat out said, he turned to Santana and said, how many players can you think about when you played that switched positions and made the roster? Mm-hmm. And Tannen was like, it's not good. It's not a good sign when they're in training camp moving you to somewhere else and saying, this is what you're focusing on. So Jamin's job certainly is in jeopardy. And he's going through a crash course on how to rush the passer, which he's never done.
Right.
And, he never has done any of the hand fighting to get around. And there's moments where they say he shows his burst and his quickness. And there's other moments where if the offensive lineman can get their hands on him, he's toast because he doesn't know how to, fight that off. So it's a tough battle for him from what it seems. But again, it is also July. Yeah. So I don't want to overemphasize he ain't making it. He's struggling in camp because we're talking week 1. But it is certainly something to keep your eye on.
Oh, absolutely. And more so because of the additions that we have made. And so, let's talk about it. Obviously getting Bobby Wagner, obviously getting Frankie Lavu. Jeremy Chin is out at safety, but there is talk about potentially putting him in the box as well. Who is on the depth at linebacker for us?
Yeah, so they drafted Jordan McGee out of Temple, who has turned a lot of heads out there. They brought in Michael Walker, who's a 4-year vet. I think Peters knows him from his time. They brought in Keandre Jones. He's been in the league a couple years, came from, linebacker University of Maryland.
Okay.
They brought in this Bo Bauer. I don't know who he is, number 51, old Will Compton lookalike, I guess, here. And then you got Jamin. But like you said, we brought in some significant players in Bobby Wagner and Frankie Lou. Like this is an exciting position group to have on our roster come week 1 because holy smokes, we've got a coaching staff who in front office that decided to put out some quality players at linebacker. Whoa.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. First and foremost, we have linebackers?
We have linebackers. Right? We don't have just 5 guys.
Right. We actually have guys that are linebackers that do it very well, man. And like I said before, Frank Lavu had the opportunity to go elsewhere to get paid more, but he really wanted to play in this system. They are talking, I don't know if you've heard about it, but they are talking so much about his speed, you know what I mean, and how he comes off the ball and how explosive he is.
Yeah.
And obviously when you have a guy like him in-house, you have Wagner in-house. What does this do? You talked about a lot of those other names. What does it do for those guys? You know what I mean? This is what everyone is so intrigued by is what does Bobby Wagner bring? How much does he have left? Because he had a great season in Seattle. He had a bounce back season where people are like, wow, he's still got a lot in his tank. I think we're going to see some production out of him a la London Fletcher versus like Thomas Davis when he came here. We're like, that dude is spent. He came in here to be an on-field. He's a locker room coach for Ron. So I think that is going to be really, really exciting to see. And in that leadership out there. And I think that's going to be really important for folks like our young secondary that's behind this guy to have somebody kind of putting them in place and coaching them up out there and communicating. And I don't think it's going to hurt guys like Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, who've had to be a leader way earlier in their career than they ever really should have. So that is probably one of the most exciting acquisitions that the team had this offseason. Well, and to that point, I think one of the things that's kind of great is that, he's saying shout out to Ben. He's saying I'm interested in seeing how Wagner can help these young players on defense. Also Fowler getting another shot. On the team. Going back to you saying, talking about Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, like you said, they have had to grow up quickly. They have had to be the leaders, the sole guys, the number one time. Now they can almost relax themselves. You know what I mean? I got a guy behind me that's going to make sure my tail is covered, my backside is covered. I got guys on the edge that can come in and push these guys into me so that it'll help me get those sacks. So that, to me, us securing this front seven and having quality players at these positions, honestly, man, it's exciting to see. Not only for the fact of the players who we got, because obviously we are expecting Frankie and Wagner and all these guys to give what they gave in years past, and we can hope, even with Eckler and bringing Biotish, all these guys, we want them to bring us what they had before. So hopefully they can duplicate that. But at the same time, what's invaluable is the lessons you're teaching to these guys that are coming in to see, okay, this is how we're rebuilding an organization. This is how you're teaching the culture. You're being able to depend on each other. I know that if you're over there, like with you and I know that if I mess up on something, you're going to hit me with it real quick, and you're going to do it in a way that it's like, okay, cool, but we're still moving. And that's something that I think is going to be huge, taking that pressure off of the Deron Paynes, Jonathan Allen, or even just what we'll discuss in a little bit, the secondary. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because a lot of pressure was put on those guys, and they weren't ready. And that's just what it is.
Right.
So how many of these guys do you think are staying at linebacker?
Well, you've got your three mainstays are going to be Louvu, Wagner, and McGee. And then I think they could bring on maybe keep five. I think Pittman is a name that that was listed here as a defensive end, which I don't think. But so potentially Pittman and Walker, only because they seem to have some connections as veterans in special teams. But and that's also where we're going to have to see, do they give Jamin a flyer? Like, can Jamin show something on special teams, which also helps it, like, you're a special teams player, and now we can work on you as a pass rush specialist. Yeah.
I'm eager to see how eager he is to work, and this is a prime opportunity for him to show the new regime, hey, I'm not the person I was before. I'm ready to learn whatever you need me to do. Let's see if he can do it.
Right. I'm also really excited about Frankie Louvu. I mean, he's a guy who signed, like you said, he chose to come here. He passed up other teams, maybe longer contracts, maybe more money, to say, I'm going to sign a 3-year deal with Washington because I think they can highlight my skills. And because, I felt like he was a playmaker in Carolina. The time he was just around the ball a lot, whether it's, there's a fumble, he's the one picking it up, getting interceptions, making sacks. And I think he's going to be a little bit, all the talk right now, the speculation is he's going to be a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. He's going to be some of that pass rush help. They're going to move him around. Like, he's going to be the attacker out there. And because he's the most athletic, and it's really exciting to kind of have someone like that at the linebacker spot. I sit here and think about, a couple of years ago, we talked about the direction the team was going in, and Ab was like, what are we doing? Linebacker is an extremely important position. And we're just like, don't need it, And this team addressed it.
Right. And that's what I love. Obviously, if you go back through history, the middle linebacker is, to a lot of people, considered the quarterback of the defense. When's the last time we had a quality middle linebacker that we can really, stand behind? It's been a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think the other part that's really exciting right now that we're hearing from a little bit of coaches, a little bit of reporters, is this guy from Temple, this 5th-round pick, Jordan McGee. Like, not only because he's physically an imposing figure out there, but that's just saying he's really kind of catching on. And if you think back to, Dan Quinn was a part of a team that drafted Bobby Wagner in the 2nd round. Now, he's a 2nd-round pick, so that's not that he was a nobody, but not everyone knew who this guy was coming out of Utah State. Adam Peters was part of a regime that drafted, I hope I'm getting it, Warner. Was it Fred Warner out of in San Francisco? And he could be the best linebacker in the game. So these guys have an idea kind of what they're looking for at a linebacker, which it's amazing to think that we had two linebackers. One of them played on the Super Bowl team as a coach and defensive coordinator, and we never developed linebackers. And in year one, we're putting money in free agency, and they may have found a gem in the 5th round. I mean, there's a chance McGee is a starter or a high contributing player early as a 5th round pick. That is what dreams are made of in a draft.
Absolutely. That is key. And I'm only gonna say one thing. It was almost like Ron and Jack Del Rio were like, we're not going to draft any good linebackers because we don't want anybody to outdo our legacy or anything like that. It was like, right. Come on now, like you guys went out of your way not to
ignore the position,
right? You know what I mean? So that kind of frustrates me. And another position that we just did not seem to figure out at that time that hopefully we're starting to get a little better at. We'll see. Well, we're better at coach in that position, and that is our secondary. We're going to start with cornerback. Obviously, we know about Mr. St. Juice. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? We know what we have. Mr. Skinny Benny, Mr. Forbes, who's been eating a little bit more. There was noted that he had put on 15 more pounds. Okay,
right.
All right. All right, it's you're gonna need about 30 more to deal with AJ Brown, but it's all right. Talk about these corners because this was a big problem that we had. We never got it right under Ron and Jack Del Rio. What are we doing right now, man?
Yeah, this is what people want to see. What are they going to do with these corners? Because you've got St. Juice, who has shown potential, has some height. He's got some good physicality. But he also gets flagged a whole lot. He's very, very handsy. He's more handsy than Lauren Boebert is out there, and that's not a good thing. All right. So are they able to turn him loose, to kind of help him out? Manuel Forbes, he was drafted as a zone corner. He got put in a man scheme, didn't do very well, or is it vice versa? He was not used very well last year by the previous regime. Are they going to put him in the right position to use this guy? Is he something? I mean, you got to think. I will say, we weren't the only team that thought he was a first-round pick. So other teams sought talent. So you got to think there's got to be something there. Now it's all about, can you put him in the right scheme?
Right.
They've got, we brought in a Michael Davis who came over from the LA Chargers. I almost call him San Diego. If they're bringing in somebody, you got to think they see something. It's not just can't body. So, so he could be something. And then the guy, these are just the first couple names, and we can kind of talk about them. But Kate's going to love this. Everybody's favorite new DB is Mike Sanders out of Michigan, the rookie, the slot corner. And they're just raving about him. So those are kind of some of the initial pieces. But, I'm saying these names, and I can't sit here and say, we're looking good.
Right.
This position.
And that's the concerning part. Because, yes, I shouted out Mike Sanders. Obviously, Kate will shout his praises. Alex talks glowingly of him. And we've seen it. It's coming to fruition now in training camp, and I'm excited to see his progression. But Forbes, there's a lot of hype about him in college. Just didn't work out for us last year. It's not going to get easier with 2 games against CeeDee Lamb, 2 games against Devontae and AJ Brown, and then now Neighbors and with the Giants, right? Isn't he out there?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to deal with it week in and week out. So for me, Forbes, that this is going to be the test. But this is where I think having the Joe Witt Jr. and who can turn a guy like Bland and Diggs into all pros and pro bowlers and studs, this is where he comes in handy. This is where he shows out. And now we're like, oh, okay, let's see what we can do, because we've seen what the other defensive coaches that we had before, what they were not able to do. The scheme, the things, it just did not work. Yes. I'm eager to see what we are able to do, because like you said, it's not going to be on the players. Now, Sanders still might do something, and hearing that he might, be a lock for a slot corner, or, getting the early action, I love that. But with who we had before, I mean, I echo your sentiments, Will. Like, we're not excited. Like, we didn't. What do you want me to say about these guys? They're not that good. But maybe in this system, maybe with how the defensive pressure from the front seven goes and all that, maybe that will help these guys on the back end. I don't know, man.
Right. No, and I'm intrigued to see, like, is our roster set? I mean, because we're asking them to make chicken salad out of chicken,
Yep.
And so it kind of wonders how much can they do? What can scheme do? And maybe it can make a big difference on some of these guys. Maybe there is some salvaging some of these players, or maybe we just find out that we are drafting either a left tackle or corner at number one, no matter what we're picking. We may be picking 2, we may be picking 10, we may be picking 25. Yeah. We're going left tackle or corner, whichever one's the best player between the two of them available. We might be finding that out. But they did bring in a couple guys that we can kind of think about some depth stuff, some things to look at here. They brought in a guy from Dallas. I'm going to try and get this name right. Noah Igbenahi. I can get it. I can do it. So you got to think that could be some special teams we're bringing in from Dallas. Here's another name. It's not that easy to pronounce, but you need to remember it. Chigozie Anusiam.
Oh, yes. You talked about
He's the Colorado State corner who they gave big money to as an undrafted free agent. He's 6'1", 200. Got some good size between him. He seems to be, at least in the rookie stuff and the minicamp stuff, the reporters were like, this guy looks the part. This guy plays the part. So, I think we've got a roster that is open, for guys to come in and win. We have a couple of the holdovers, Caillou Blue Kelly. He came over from the Ravens late last year when they cut him. Christian Holmes, Tariq Castro Fields. Okay. And for what it's worth, we brought in James Pierre, who's been with the Steelers before, veteran. But for what it's worth, Terry talked about Nick Whiteside. I think this might be one of the guys that you and Ab liked last year, I think. And he said to his family, like, on one of the first days, and Terry's like, he's legit. He's for real. He's young, he's coming from Saginaw Valley. So, he's probably not going to make a roster his first year like it was last year. But if Terry sees something in him, what is he seeing?
Kat would say otherwise. If he's from Saginaw Valley, he's from Sag Nasty, which is her area. She would also say Draymond Green came from there, Michigan State. We would get into a whole big thing. So, yeah. But no, so to that point, and Ab and I did talk about that, the last preseason game against the Bengals, he showed out. Obviously, he's playing for his job. He's playing for his life. But he was everywhere. I mean, he was on the line. He was, knocking out passes, recovering fumbles. He played his butt into what we thought he played himself into a job. And he is that type of guy. You talked about stories where what dreams are made of. He's that type of guy that if he can just get on the team, maybe if he runs down kicks or, kick return, punt return, that type of stuff, if he could just get on the team, he might be a Bland. You know what I mean? He might be that Mr. Irrelevant that all of a sudden comes out and does it. With what we've seen, that work ethic is there. I mean, in game, when he got his opportunity, he did great. Even when we were able to get him, we weren't that great last year. So even when he was able to get in there, we still got torched and things like that. But some of the things that we saw from him, his effort, his determination, that's some of the things that we hope we can replicate. And it's something to go forward with. With that being said, though, it's still not exciting. Like,
no, I mean, this is us, you and me, nerding out about who's going to be the 5th and 6th corner and who's going to make the practice squad out of a dude from Saginaw Valley after an undrafted free agent from Colorado State and a former first-round pick out of Auburn, whose last name I can't pronounce, but he came from Dallas. Like, this is the stuff that the nerds are get excited about, but the average fan is not going to.
They're not right. Yeah. And the other part about this, and look, we here in Washington love you, Terry. Terry, you're great. You're amazing. But he's not a dog. So when he says, "Oh, he's guy's good," to me, it's like, "Oh, you guys go out for drinks or something? Is he good like that?" Because who is he guarding? Is he shutting you down, Terry? Because that's a problem. Right now, you know what I mean? Like, it feels good for our captain, our leader, to say, "Oh yeah, this guy's good," but really, like how good? Like, is
Right.
is he really making an impact? So I'm eager to see how that translates into actual competition when we do have to play the Jets and scrimmage these guys, Miami and things like that. So yeah, hey, hopefully here's a chance.
Right. Right.
So we will definitely see. So that's the corner back position. Still a lot to be desired, but again, that's where a coach like Joe Witt Jr., having him on our defensive staff, could be that X factor, that next piece that brings them to the next level. Let's go to the second, to the safety. Let's go to see who we have. Obviously, Jeremy Chin is the headline piece that we were able to get. And then it's a bunch of guys that have been around for what?
No, you're wrong.
No, Reeves? No, not Reeves.
Because you got Jeremy Chin starting at safety. And who's starting opposite him, Sean? Tell me who's starting opposite Jeremy Chin.
Talk to me.
That's all. I'm not going to let you throw shade on my guy and say we got guys who've been around. You've got last year's second-round pick, Quan Martin, as a starting safety.
Around. He was around last year. All right.
Yeah, he emerged at the end of the season.
Well, you're right. Actually, no, you're right, Will. He wasn't around because he was nowhere to be found. The ball was there.
that one play in preseason, he got torched.
What are you doing? Oh my God! Yes,
this guy could go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and you are never gonna forget the fact that we could have drafted Cody Mock, and then in one of his first preseason games, he got torched.
God, it was.
He did. Yeah. But yes. So talk about our safeties, and there's not much changes here. The big change is Jeremy Chin, bringing him in. And you said it earlier, and I think you were 100% correct. He is slotted as the starting safety, but there's a lot of thought that he's going to come down, and if we're only playing two linebackers, he comes in as a de facto third linebacker, or Dallas is going to play him in the position that had him near the line of scrimmage. So he's going to kind of take that role, which puts the other guy at free safety, which is Quan Martin, who was drafted because of some of his ball skills and be that type of cover guy out there. So right now, those are the two that keep lining up most consistently as starters, which, I mean, if you get a second round pick starting in year two, that's a win. That's a good thing, compared to 8 tackle Phil Mathis, so, that we're making progress here. And this is where you've got your holdovers and you're really not sure. A Percy Butler, who they talk about, is actually playing a little bit better as a free safety than a strong safety. And they kind of said, hey, did the previous scheme just move him around too much, make him think too much? You've got Derek Forrest, who is actually running with the threes at times right now. So it's like, wait a minute, this guy was a starter, and now are they not seeing the same things as the previous scheme did? You have the rookie Dominique Hampton that they drafted, so you kind of think his roster spot's probably, unless he completely is terrible out there, his spot is probably safe. So there's about 4 or 5 guys there, plus special teams stalwart Jeremy Reeves is still there, and he's a captain, he's a leader, so kind of seeing there. The guy I keep hearing about is Tyler Owens out of Texas Tech, 6'2", 210. They just say he's physically imposing and kind of one of these players where he was around the ball a lot in the underwear Olympics portion of things. And then so the reporters were like, I can't wait till he puts some pads on. He thumped some people out there. So it's kind of curious now. I mean, is he really going to have enough to overtake all those names of guys who've played before that I previously mentioned? That's probably going to be a challenge. Mm-hmm. But has he shown enough to potentially make the practice squad and start developing? That is certainly something. If you just kind of like the Nick Whiteside, he didn't make the roster, but he made the practice squad. He's here for year 2, and some people are taking notice. So that's But overall, aside from maybe the starters, I don't have a whole lot of excitement out of those names.
No. But and here's something that I have been thinking about, and something that I addressed with you around the time of the draft, is that we still have the fog of the Rivera Del Rio era. We still kind of look at things how they did it, or at least I can say I do. And whenever I think about whatever I expect us to do, I kind of looking at players, I'm looking at it from that lens. I wonder how the new regime looks at these guys. Like, and this is one of the questions that we had last week. How many people that are holdovers are going to stay? How many of the people that were with the old regime, that were brought in by the old regime, are going to stay and be able to give an opportunity to thrive? The Jamin Davises, the whole secondary group, these guys, the Forbes, all these guys. So that to me is going to be very interesting, especially in the secondary, because you have brought in a number of pieces. You have brought in a couple corners and some safeties and some guys that you're obviously interested in. You obviously, you talk about Hampton and you talk about the guy from Texas Tech. You've seen something that you're excited about. And we know how iffy, these guys that we had. I mean, they were fan favorite. We liked them, but they weren't really great. And, so it begs the question, are we looking at it like wrong? Are we looking at it from our lens? Like, because you talk about Forrest now dropped down to the threes. We always thought he was a starter, but did we think he was a starter? So are we looking from that Ron Rivera lens where it's like we've been told certain things for so long, and in certain times in life and in society, when certain people are told things over and over and over, eventually things get made to be told that they're true, and this is reality. When in fact, we know these guys were not good. We knew we had a 73, 74 overall team. But we definitely tried to jump it up. Like, oh, yeah, we got an 83, 84. Like, we got a team that's, we're wild card ready.
Right.
No. So, I mean, we should be surprised by this. Like, is this new regime looking at this like almost like last year? We give you everybody gets a 1-year shot to see what you can do and go from there. Or like, what should we be expecting? Because nothing on here makes me excited, Will.
No, I think I'm going to steal a line from Tom Lovero with all these guys. I would suggest you rent and not buy a house right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I don't think any of these holdovers should feel like their job is safe. Like Derek Forrest, you started for Ron, that means nothing. It's a little bit of a surprise to see if he's running with the threes, but just like you said, like they're bringing in their own guys. I still remember in Adam Peters' press conference in January, one of the questions the reporters asked was like, tell me about this roster. Tell me about this, like some of the pieces that you think you see. And there was this really long pause before he answered it, kind of like he was trying to like, how do I answer this? But without just sharing my thoughts of like, this team sucks,
right?
So I think just like when we talk about with corners, it's with safeties where like, that's why I was like, I'm excited for Quan to see how he develops in year 2 with these guys. I'm excited for Jeremy Chin. I think he's going to make an impact. I have no idea what's going to happen to the rest of these guys. I would say Dominic Hampton should feel pretty good that he's got a roster spot being a draft pick. And then after that, maybe a Jeremy Reeves as a special teams guy, but he's also coming off an injury too. So we'll have to see how, his knee recovery is coming. But after that, man, it's like, good luck trying to pick who's making this roster.
Bro, with looking at this secondary, it just makes me think, God, I hope we have the 46 defense. I hope we have the steel curtain or the Ravens 2000 D. Because other than that, all they got to do is pop it over our heads.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not stopping anybody. So
test them. Yeah.
I will say this. What's going on, Jared? I'm glad that you came. Were you looking for your players and your coach? And Quinn, Joe Witt Jr. Are you looking for him? Because we got him. Go ahead. I got some gear for you if you want. This is what your coach is wearing. Let's go. Yo, shout out to my guy, Jared Harmon, man. He'll definitely be rapping with us this fall, talking about his Dallas Cowboys and whatnot. Absolutely. So look, that is our roster. Obviously, it is definitely open to be changed. We'll see. A lot of these guys are out here trying to make a name for themselves, and this is the best situation to do it in. You have a new regime that's coming in here and is really really ready and willing to give everybody an opportunity to see, hey, what can you do? This is the scheme. This is what we're doing. If you fit, it could work. Let's go with it. Let's go. With that being said, let's talk about it. We did make a number of moves. We did get a number of pieces. Half of my guys, Cowboys, yes, we did.
Yeah, they do feel brand new.
That's right. That's right.
We're rejuvenated.
Quarterback, baby. Come on. But so let's talk about our on defense. Who is the biggest free agent signing, in your opinion? Not just the biggest name, but maybe who's going to have the biggest impact for us?
I want you to go first because I don't want to take your guy.
I honestly, it was hard for me not to go Bobby Wagner.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
We've talked about it year in and year out. Man, wouldn't it be great if he came here? Wouldn't it be great? And I still remember the day that they signed, and somebody sent me something. They were like, Bobby Wagner, and I was signed with Washington. I was like, oh man, fake news got to the sports. What is this? Why are you sending me this crap? I don't want to hear this. But when I found out it was true, I was like, oh wow, things really are changing. So it's hard not to say that from a personal standpoint. This is not going to be something that anybody else likes, but I've always shouted him out. And I'm going to say this. Dante Fowler Jr., man, he just continues to get a job. And he's one of these guys that if he, certain coaches have their guys that might not be great in any other scheme, but in that scheme, they seem to work, and they definitely are a huge asset. And I think, and then we've seen Dante Fowler show up wherever Dan Quinn goes, be it Atlanta, be it Dallas. We've seen him show up, and this is just continuing that. So for me, that is so exciting for me because I've always wanted to bring this guy in, and he's obviously everybody thinks he's past his prime, whatever. I don't need him to be the next best thing. I just need him to fill that role and teach these guys behind him how to play in this scheme that he knows so well. So that's my favorite. That's my favorite.
I did not see you going there. That's kind of big. Nice. I like it. Well, and this is one I was trying to put that up there. I agree with Jared. Yeah, I mean, I'm really intrigued to see Dorrance Armstrong. And going into free agency, he was my, especially because he's not going to have a huge contract. I'm like, man, this would be someone great to come over and play and I think he's going to be your 3-down starter, which he was not in Dallas. Mm-hmm. And then you can rotate Fowler on pass rush and Cleveland Farrell on first and second down when there could be, run situations. And so I'm really excited about Armstrong on the defensive end. I think I'm going to go. I was trying to decide between which one of the Panthers do I want to be, ex-Panthers do I want to be considering, because I think they're both going to be moved around a lot and be impactful. I'm going to go with the fact that we gave this guy a longer contract. And I just think Frankie Louvu was when we signed, I was like, that's going to be a good fit.
Yes.
When he came in, it was because he came in before Wagner. He was, I was like, whoa, he can make some impact. He's a chess piece for these guys. I think about what Dallas did with Micah Parsons and think, how can Louvu mimic some of the things that Parsons did or how they used him, and just to be not just a linebacker but a pass rush guy. So I think he's going to be quite the chess piece that they're going to have fun with.
Oh yeah, very excited about that. Definitely wanted to talk about those Carolina guys.
Mm-hmm.
Excited to bring that, and excited to bring a couple of good Carolina players after getting all of the other Carolina players over the years that weren't that good.
Right.
So let's real quick. What position group are you watching? What group intrigues you right now?
I think the group we spoke about the most on here, it's cornerback. It's the secondary, but it's mostly corner, just because this is the weakest part of the roster.
Yeah.
There are pieces that have been put in place that, there's been capital put into it in high draft picks, in a Forbes, in a St. Jude's. There's a free agent signing that, of Michael Davis. So it's what do they see in these guys, and how can they transform them, or what can they do with these guys to make them better than they've been? So and kind of trying to find out, can they be miracle workers, or can they make something out of Manuel Forbes? Can you stop having St. Jude's get so many illegal contact and pass interference penalties because he can't keep his hands off people? It's can they capitalize on the talent, or do we need to, ball 20 feet overhead? Got him locked down. Right? Yeah. As long that's better at least than what DJ Swearinger used to do with the flight marshals. I couldn't stand that. Him and Nicholson arresting each other to get off the field. Guys.
Bring back DJ, man. Come on. 1 year flyer, baby. Yeah, for me and Jared saying only one linebacker, I say we got two, sir. Mr. Bobby Wagner and Mr. Frankie Louvu. And this is the position. Look, we have not been quiet about it. The last 4 years, we have had the absence of this position. We've had a big hole behind our defensive line in front of our secondary, and it's been at linebacker. Now we've clearly put pieces in this position. We've put quality experience. We've put just two top tier guys in this spot to help with some other guys that will be around. This is it. Like, we need this. I want to see how much this, having an actual capable, competent linebacker and a lead middle linebacker, I want to see how much that impacts the defense, how much that takes pressure off our D-line, lets them go eat, and then maybe even gives a little bit of a cushion to our secondary. Because as you've seen, I still don't trust our secondary against anybody. So we need to make sure that our defense, that linebackers and that linebacker group is shutting down that middle. I don't want my safeties, although we know Chen might be coming up in the box. So if he gets the most number of tackles, I don't have a problem with it. But I don't want my safeties being the leaders in tackles like we've had over the last couple of years.
Right.
We've been gashed so much. So linebacker is where I'm looking at for sure.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. It's going to be fun to watch those.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I definitely think we need to field this question. Is Daniels more RG3 or Jason Campbell?
He is a combination of Michael Vick and Donovan McNabb. That's what he is.
Yes, sir. All right, let's go. With what we hope is some Patrick Mahomes magic. All right, I'll throw it out there. And yes, he is still on the team.
Oh man, did you see Christian Darrisaw just signed a long-term extension with the Vikings? The guy picked right after we selected Jamin. God bless him.
I just remember looking at that once we drafted him, and we were just looking at our board like, dude, there's so many guys. These linemen are falling. These corners are falling. Why are we getting this guy?
And I'll be honest. I'll take the heat. I was clapping. All right, yeah. They got his linebackers. Yeah, Ron Rivera drafted a linebacker. He knows something. Way off. Way off.
Yeah. Now, the fact that he got a linebacker, that was something we were all excited about that. Now, I will always say got the wrong linebacker. Okay. Zayvon Collins, my guy. And then JOK, obviously, he was also solid. But, they went the direction they went. It is what it is. Oh, my goodness, man. Oh, my goodness. Do you have any of these roster spot battles?
It's probably the same as before. A corner, Yeah, I think so. I mean, I am curious about, I'll say this. I'll say defensive tackle. I'm curious between Ridgeway and Mathis. This is, again, nerding out here. Right. Ridgeway and Mathis is which one of them makes it.
All right. I'm interested in deep in edge rushers, defensive ends. I want to see what will inevitably be the replacements for Chase Young and Montez Sweat. And can they duplicate that that production? And
which year's production?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's not much. So the bar is not that high. That's why I'm like, can it happen? I mean, but I mean, seriously, if we can't get that much, then we still have a problem that needs to be addressed. You know what I mean? No. Not out on him, but what I'll say, and I'll let you go after this, Will. I've said, like I said last year, he needs to put more weight on because he's got to go up against CD. He's got to go up against Devontae Adams and A.J. Brown and now Malik Neighbors with the Giants. So, he's got to get bigger. But as you know, we got the cornerback whisperer, Mr. Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn in house. So we're expecting some bland type skills this year, my man.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to not be out on Forbes. It's really hard to be sitting here saying that they can turn him around because I think just because he is so skinny, it's just like, can this guy physically hold up? But I'll say this: they did a tackling drill, and he was not afraid. Now, obviously, it's not a live game, so he's not actually having to hit the guy, but he is not afraid to get in there and hit people. Oh, yeah. It was him and Sanderson were aggressive out there, where some of the other guys just went through the motions. It's like Man, if you can play with that type of confidence and aggressiveness, maybe you got something there.
Well, and the thing is, Forbes is still long. He's very long.
Yes.
He can definitely reach out and get to some, where he might not be making the killer tackle. He can, get the guy, trip him up, take him down, whatever we need. So, I'm excited about that. But again, what we got, or what we thought we were getting, was never a tackling corner. What we thought we were getting was a ball hawk that was going to change, get our offense the ball more and take more possessions away from their offense. You know what I mean? So that's what we're looking to see.
Right.
Our DC, our defensive coordinator, is Joe Witt Jr., my friend.
No, DB coach.
Yeah, who is
I'm looking him up.
He's not the high school guy that he used to be.
No, not anymore. No. Defensive backs, Tommy Donatel. That's the Ed Donatel's son. That's the guy I'd mentioned. And then I think there's a passing game specialist. John Pagano, Chuck Pagano's brother, he's part of it. Oh, nice. And then Jason Simmons is the defensive pass game coordinator. I don't know him, but there was some folks saying that he's sort of legit.
Okay.
Where did he come from? He came from the Raiders, developed Trayvon Moehrig, the guy who dropped Taylor Heineke's gift.
I don't know if we like that one, but all right. We shall see. So that's what we're looking at. Let us know what roster spots you guys are looking at. Jared, definitely we're gonna get you on here one of these days.
We're gonna need that NFC East preview.
Oh yeah. So we definitely want you to get up on your Dallas Cowboys. Is CD gone? Is Dak gone? Or what are you all going to do without your head coach?
He's being kind to us here, and you're sitting here ripping on us.
I realize that. But hey, it's never too early to talk trash. Jeez. I'm ready, baby. I'm ready. Oh man. So look, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we want to say we appreciate you being here and watching the football update. Training camp is here. The NFL, is all but here. August 1st is tomorrow. The first preseason games are,
I think, Hall of Fame games this week.
Yeah.
We still have another week or so, probably.
Yeah, I think we have 2 weeks before our game. Right?
We go the August 10th.
Oh, wow.
It's coming up this Saturday. 2 Saturdays from now.
So August 10th is our first one against
the Jets.
The Jets.
Which before that will be the joint practices. That's going to be a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. See if Rodgers gets out there and if he's able to be touched at all. It's going to be interesting.
You're right.
I'm excited to see. Cowboys all day. Okay, I'm not going to put that up there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to let you guys go. For my guy, Mr. Will Kramer, you know it is your boy Sean Spencer. We appreciate y'all being here with us. Stay tuned real quick. We are going to play our guy, Anton Benton of Awesome Artisans. Does good work. Need something done. Definitely get into him. We'll see y'all next time.
Dun, 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 dun.